Ms. Ellinger, are there any requests for public comment?
No, there are not.
Thank you. We are going to convene to close session and we will reconvene to open session at approximately 6:15 p.m.
Oh.
I call this meeting to order, back to order of the Belmont-Redwood Shores School Board. We are reconvening to open session at 6:21 p.m. And next on the agenda is our flag salute. Could you please rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And then the next item is announcements, report on the closed session. We do not have any report on the closed session. This meeting is being recorded. And then item number 7, approval of the agenda and consent agenda.
President Northrop, one adjustment on item 7H. We should remove that from the consent for discussion afterwards. We are updating an item that was at the June meeting. So it's an update of a public hearing with a statement of reserves. We needed to clarify something, but it looks like from this that it should be a public hearing. So removing that from the consent agenda will allow CBO Bao just to talk a little bit about that item and clarify.
Thank you. So removing item 7H, can I get a motion to approve the agenda and consent agenda, or a question first?
Question that, so are we removing it from the meeting or are we replacing it at the location?
We'll take 7H after we approve the consent agenda, where we can speak to 7H, and then you can come back and approve that if you so will.
So, okay, so later on in the meeting.
With removing item 7H, can I get a motion to approve the agenda and consent agenda?
I motion that we approve the agenda and consent agenda as amended.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by trustee Bruno, motion by trustee Howard. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Okay, and it passes unanimously.
And I think if you want to just do
Sure,
7H,
great.
we can.
Yes, so we can take 7H right now. CBO Bao, if you'd like to help us understand that one.
Yes. So back in June, we had a public hearing that included a form called the Statement of Reserves for the 24-25 budget. It's part of the process. And tactically, the statement has to line up very perfectly with specific line items on the budget. And so two things is, one of the numbers in there was referring to an earlier version of the budget. And then the second one was that when it came to the deficit spending amount, I put the full amount in there when it should actually be rounded down a little so that the final number is 0. So the county came back to us with those remarks. They said that because they're non-substantive changes, it does not need to be another public hearing, but because the numbers are changing to reflect our adopted budget, that the board needs to take action on that without the need for a second public hearing. So that is the update, very minor changes, no actual changes to the budget itself, just aligning this form to more accurately reflect the 24-25 budget.
Thank you, CBO Bao. Any questions? Could we get a motion to approve item 7H?
To approve item 7H.
Thank you, trustee Bruno. Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by trustee Koss. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. All are in favor. It passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay. And now we'll move on to item number 8, speakers wishing to address the board. The board appreciates and supports stakeholder input at our meetings. Engagement by members of the public in civic matters is a cornerstone of our democracy. The board has established guidelines for its meetings so that we are able to conduct the meeting effectively and efficiently. Within those guidelines, members of the public have the opportunity to address the board. To submit a question or comment, please complete the speaker card by the start of the open session at 6:15 p.m. You may see Ms. Ellinger for a speaker card at this time. During the meeting, speakers will be called upon to make their comment. If you're addressing the board on an agenda item, we will call on you to provide your comment before the board discusses that item on the agenda. If you're addressing the board on a non-agenda item, we will take those comments at this time. Please be aware that the provisions of the Brown Act prohibit the board from acting on or discussing non-agenda item matters at this meeting. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person per topic. Ms. Ellinger, are there any requests for public comment?
No, there are not.
Thank you. Next item is the Board of Trustees report. Volunteers to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, Trustee Bruno.
I don't have much to report this month. I'm up to date. I think I'm still a good vice president. I'm active on the board and I love my children. At least this is my board report.
Thank you, Trustee Bruno. Trustee Cost?
Just want to say that upcoming is a community event. It's a party at Nesbitt, which is one of the biggest parties, a way to kind of come together as a community, and look forward to participating in that and just encourage those to attend who would like to. That's what I have.
Thank you, Trustee Cost. Trustee Linebach?
Thank you. On Monday, the San Mateo County School Board Association had our board meeting to plan out the year and planned out a number of events coming up, the general membership, panel meetings, lectures, and so forth. So one of the ones that I'm very interested in that I encourage my colleagues to attend is artificial intelligence in education. It's going to be co-sponsored with San Mateo County Office of Education, Marco Chavez, Chris Norwood from Milpitas Unified School District, CSB staff, and some other experts. And this is going to be on November 18th. So mark your calendars if you're interested in doing that. Some other meetings that are coming up, other topics are workforce pipeline and retention on October 28th, chronic absenteeism on February 10th, and of course, the Kent Award ceremony in May, which we love, and we'll look forward to getting some more plaques to put up on the wall. So look at your emails for your San Mateo County School Board Association calendars.
Trustee Linebach, do you know when the applications will be available?
That is coming up soon, but I don't know the date. I'll get it to you though.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Linebach. Trustee Howard?
In the interest of time, I surrender my time.
Thank you, Trustee Howard. And I have no report as well. So we will move on to the superintendent's report.
So I will just share, last Friday, I spent the day at Stanford talking with colleagues about transitional kindergarten. And as we have pushed back the date of kindergarten, we have many more 4-year-olds attending our schools than we have had ever before. So just, conversation around how we as a TK, in this case 12 organization, support our youngest learners. We talked a lot about thinking about transitional kindergarten and kindergarten, not so much in isolation, but how we build skills from transitional kindergarten through 3rd grade, really kind of the early literacy years. And we talked about how we're supporting or not supporting administrators in supporting our TK teachers, right? The thought was, and there was a lot of conversation about, our staff are often great in the later primary years, but that early childhood, right? That TK and pre-K in many cases, so preschool or special education preschool, as well as some districts have preschool on site, that's definitely an area of growth. So really enjoyed talking with Stanford faculty and colleagues on that and pushing my thinking in that area. And this week I visited TK up at Fox to kind of support that work too. So good week.
Great. Thank you, Superintendent DeGuara. Item number 11 material sufficiency. This is a public hearing and resolution. Do we hold the hearing first?
Let's have the presentation first.
Sure.
And then do the hearing.
Okay, great. So we will hear from Assistant Superintendent Ching Pei Hu.
Hi, everyone. This is going to be a short presentation for me because all I'm coming here to say is thanks to the hard work of my admin assistant, Jessica Montalbano, our STEM coach, Terry Robinson, and Kristen Sevilla, our Ed Services Wellness Coordinator. The three of them help me in this endeavor every year in coordinating our book orders. We have all of our adopted materials in all of our classrooms. All students have access to copies in person as well as digital access at home. So we are fully compliant with the material sufficiency requirement of the Williams Act. That's all there is to share.
Thank you, Assistant Superintendent Hu. And then I will open this public hearing at 6:32 p.m. Are there any requests for comment?
No, there aren't.
Thank you. I will close this public hearing at 6:32 p.m. And then board members, any questions?
One quick question. For the digital, is that kind of all through mechanisms like Clever so that the parents can support their kids at home?
Yeah, all of our
Excellent.
textbooks are available on Clever. For the materials audit, actually, our adopted copies are all paper copies.
Okay.
Hardbound copies. So they all have textbooks, workbooks for reading, writing, math, science, social studies. And what's adopted is actually the hardbound copy. We do have digital licenses so people can log in using Clever at home. It is not actually what's considered our adopted material, because if you do that, then you also have to provide 4 devices for every single person, as well as internet access for every single person. So we are a little bit more old fashioned in that our adopted materials are the paper copies.
Okay.
Thank you, Trustee.
Thank you.
Coates. Great. And then we have a resolution. Can I get a motion to approve resolution number 2024-25-4?
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Linebaugh. Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Bruno. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. None opposed, it passes unanimously. Thank you.
Hear that trick. That's all the work. You just go so.
And then item number 12 is the unaudited actuals budget report. And we'll hear from Chief Business Official Rui Bao.
Great. It is the time of year when everyone's thinking about this year, and my team's reporting out on last year, which is always fun, but it's summer closing out the books. Now, for the first time since I've been here, for unaudited actuals. So normally unaudited actuals, it's the snapshot of, okay, we had all this budgeting, what did we actually spend? I normally like to compare year on year, but every year I've been here has been such a wonky year that this has been the first time that we can actually talk about unaudited actuals compared to a previous normal year. So the first one is a chart of blue is 22-23, green is 23-24. And so overall, from a revenue perspective, as you can see, so LCFF is the funding source, even though it's within property taxes is it's called LCFF even when it's all full of property tax. So what you can see trend wise is that that amount is going up as expected as our property values go up. Federal is largely consistent. You see a decrease in other state funding. So this is, we're starting to see the drop off of all the grants and the cash flow there. And then other local just up very slightly. And I think this is mostly with parcel tax having a slight COLA. So largely even there. So again, as always, the majority of our revenue comes from LCFF sources, aka property tax. And about 24% of our revenue is restricted. So restricted means that it has to be used towards certain things. Expenses. So by object category, it breaks down into certificated salary, classified salaries, benefits, books and supplies, services, and then the other two are just kind of small categories. So 80% of our expenditures in 23-24 were related to compensation. So salaries, benefits, and statutory burdens. As you can see, the majority of that is certificated salaries. This makes sense. The majority of our staff are teachers or other certificated staff. Trend-wise, you see that increasing, which is expected year on year. Books and supplies did go up slightly between the last couple of years. That bump in services and other operating is actually due to just a lot of contracts that we had with staffing shortages. Overall, again, just slight increases across the categories as expected. So no trends that feel worrisome at all. And then finally, a breakdown of expenses by function. So this breaks down into instruction, which is that light blue at the bottom. Again, the majority of our expenses are going towards what we do, which is instruction. So the difference between that blue instruction versus the orange instruction related is instruction means it like literally is student facing. So a teacher doing something for a student, like that is instruction, like a textbook is instruction versus professional development, which benefits the teacher, which ultimately benefits the student, counts as instruction related. Pupil services, that's the yellow category, includes things like counseling, health and mental health services, transportation. So you see a bit of a bump in there with our increase in counseling support. Ancillary services is a little bit of a miscellaneous item, the largest one of which is athletics. That's that tiny little bar that you can almost never see. General administration, so that's back office, my department, HR, tech, et cetera, staying fairly static. Plant services is operations and facilities. So you do see a slight increase in that as we're continuing to invest in repairing and maintaining our facilities. And then there's a small amount for other debt services. And sorry, those are all general fund. And then for all other funds, we've got our cafeteria fund. So this is our biggest other fund. This is our meals program where you can see our expenditures do outpace our revenues very slightly, actually less than we were projecting. There's a bit of a balance in there. There's a grant from the state for infrastructure upgrades. And so, we did buy fridges and ovens and stuff, but we do have a bit of a balance in there that we're still looking at. Of course, our building facilities bond. So you see a large beginning balance in there and almost no revenue because, it's just a little bit from interest, but big expenses there as expected from a bond fund. And then finally, we've got a couple of developer fee funds will actually be an update at the following item. And then county school facilities is another facilities bond of which we were able to put in some of the remaining NG work. So those are our remaining fund balances. Any questions about how we spent our money last year? Yeah.
The school force contribution every year, is that under the other local part of the revenue?
Of course, counts as other local. Yep.
Thank you.
How did our actuals compare to our budget?
Great question. We ended up, we're typically pretty on par with salaries and benefits because that's very closely tied to position control. A little bit higher in services than originally budgeted and actually lower in materials than originally budgeted. And I can send a detailed breakdown as a follow-up.
Any other questions? This is an action item. Can I get a motion to approve the unaudited actuals budget report of district revenues and expenditures for the 23-24 fiscal year as presented?
Forgot the words.
So moved.
So moved. I knew it was so
I was waiting
something.
for you. I wanted to get it right.
So moved.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you.
I forgot the second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. All are in favor, motion approved. Thank you. And then the next item is the public disclosure of developer fees. And this is an information item from Chief Business Official Ruby Bao.
Great. So now a deep dive into Fund 25. So developer fees, essentially anytime there are any developments within a school district or anywhere, there's a portion that has to go to the school district under the theory that new housing means more students and there is therefore an impact on school districts, it is a obligation for the school district to then give an annual update. So just an informational item about how that was spent. This year we received $382,786 in developer fee revenue. This was deposited into our capital facilities fund, also known as Fund 25. It is meant to be spent on things for growing enrollment or new enrollments. And so we spent that this year on our facilities management plan. So just a public disclosure of how that was spent. Questions?
I'll make a quick comment. Well, it's CBO Bow's topic here. Just want to say I'm saddened that you're leaving the district. You've been great for us. You've been an amazing CBO. You've helped the board and community providing due diligence, fiscal responsibility, and explaining things in ways that everyone's very clearly easy to understand. So thank you so much for all your service and wish you best of luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you so
Second.
much.
I'm going to ask actually that you don't vote in favor of that.
Hey.
No, thank you. It's been a total joy to be here. And grateful to, my team behind the scenes who you guys don't get to see much, but they're absolutely the backbone on which we're able to, not only keep things running smoothly, but giving me the space to take on strategic things because they keep the ship running. Also, of course, grateful to the leadership team, right? For being really values aligned and providing great leadership, and Dan as well. So you guys make it easy to be here. So thank you guys for all your support through the years.
Thank you, Rui. Yes, thank you for all your service. We wish you the best in your future endeavors. And yes, you've been a indispensable part of the district, and we're not sure what we'll do without you, but we appreciate you. Thank you.
Gonna be great. You've existed for hundreds of years without us.
Thank you.
Can I get a comparison of the actuals in terms of the time of year?
Any other questions on item number 13? Item number 14 is the adoption of the facilities master plan. And this is also started off by Chief Business Official Rui Back.
Really dominating this meeting. There may be
So strong.
but I think
The swan song.
Yeah, exactly. So facilities master plan, as everyone knows, is something that we've been working on with our amazing partners, DTA, for quite a while now. So just a recap of everything that has been done as part of the facilities master plan. So first, starting with a facilities needs assessment, right? So we had technical assessment, architectural, mechanical, electrical, landscape, civil, interviews with district staff, as well as site workshops, as well as a digital survey. So looking at not just from a professional, technical lens, what needs to be done, but also seeking a ton of community input, including sessions at every single site with community members, staff, students, and a survey for those who could not attend one of those. And our timeline, so kind of an update, you all have seen this timeline before, right? We started this a year ago, selecting our architect, underwent our input process, logical project outline. So where we are in the process right now is we are here tonight to finalize the facilities master plan. Once that is finalized, it moves into implementation. In parallel, with the facilities master plan has been the bond timeline. So soon after beginning the process for that, we started polling around bond language, which we completed, drafting that language, finalizing it. The board approved the final language. Our ballot is officially out there and assigned a item, Measure P. And so the next step there is the election. So kind of where we are in the timeline right now. And in terms of decision points for the board, right? So there was in This spring, we talked through and provided some guidance for the project level framework to be used in the facilities master plan, followed by passing the ballot measure language. Where we are today is the implementation of the facilities master plan. So this determines the projects that could be implemented as part of a long-term facility strategy, but does not yet decide which specific projects to prioritize. So once we know how much funding we have, that is when we get into the implementation plan, which will start after the election. So, and with that, I won't go over in great detail the hundreds of pages of wonderful contents from our architects, but we'll take any questions about our plan for the process.
Thank you, Ms. Bao. Any questions or comments? Trustee Lineback?
Yeah, I'll make a couple comments. First of all, thank you for joining us today and appreciate the modifications. We had a retreat a couple weeks ago, and I noticed that all the conversations were captured very well. The new plan was tweaked to capture everyone's thoughts and desires there. So I'm really excited about this plan. I think it's great. There's a lot of good stuff from keeping the infrastructure sound, roofs, walls, whatever, but also some really nice things as well. And I'm really happy that we had all the community input to make everyone's voice heard, and everything that everyone wanted is in this plan. So that's really impressive. Some of the additions in there are going to make the facilities nice, and it's going to be attractive to families, staff, and the community in general. And by having a strong school district with a good, healthy facilities means better property values for everyone, whether your kid's in school or not. And just to highlight some of the key things that I really like about this plan. I mean, first of all, priority is stabilize the facility, but the nice to haves, getting rid of the portables, I think that's fantastic. Building new classrooms that are going to be available for today's and tomorrow's technology is very important. Getting middle school gymnasiums at Sandpiper and Nesbitt are going to be fantastic. And finally, the Performing Arts Center at Ralston, I think that's going to be the gem of the district that I think all schools could use instead of, seeing gold dust or bust in the MUR. It could be really a nice production. So looking forward to all this and seeing it come to fruition as the years go forward, as long as the bond passes.
Okay. Thank you, Trustee Lineback. Any other questions or comments?
I will echo. Thank you for the work. As someone who does things just professionally, it was instructional as well. So I appreciate the experience.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It's been, we've really appreciated the partnership. Thank you for leading all of the community outreach sessions, helping us conduct those community outreach sessions, and the extensiveness of the plan. I think it provides a great possibilities for the future for the next 5 to 10 years. So thank you very much. And thank you, of course, to Ms. Bao for leading us through that as well. All right. Thank you. And then we do have to adopt it.
Let's not forget.
Exactly.
Move that the board adopts the facilities master plan as prepared.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Lineback. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, please say no. It passes unanimously. We have adopted the facilities master plan.
No, thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, and now the 2x2 debrief. We'll turn this over to Superintendent Kumar.
Great. So today we had a 2x2 with Sequoia. Superintendent Leach, Trustee Koo, Trustee Howard, President Northrop, and I had spent an hour today just talking about things between the two districts. Our topics were a strategic plan. It was like hours ago and I'm already. We talked about strategic plan. We talked about communication structures with kind of a case study of how each district looked at the potential Samtrans strike and how we communicated around that. And then we talked about strategic plans, and I'll leave it to our trustees to share a little bit more.
Thank you. Trustee Howard, would you like to share more? I was only able to attend part of the meeting, unfortunately. So I think you've covered what I was there for, Superintendent DeGuara. Anything else, Trustee Howard?
No, I think it's always a really good get together because the lessons learned on the group. And then the ability to improve our articulation and alignment is always there. And it's clear that there's a good relationship between not only the board members, but the superintendents. And you really feel like we're having a conversation and that we're hearing each other rather than just going through the motions. So kudos to you and Superintendent Leach for setting up that atmosphere.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any questions from the other board members? Trustee Cost?
Yeah, just curious, like you brought up the sand trans, is that how you say it?
Mhm.
So were there any differences in communication? I certainly saw our communication come through, but yeah, well, anything you could share about the differences?
So we wasn't so much, we used Samtrans as like a case analysis, right? Because it was interesting. So Samtrans had the potential, still has the potential, I believe, of a strike. For the last couple weeks, we haven't known if there were going to be concerted efforts, i.e. Sick outs and whatnot. We haven't known if bus service was going to run for sure or not. So it's kind of put us in a little bit of limbo. So it was interesting because multiple districts were communicating to their communities in different ways, right? So I know with colleagues in various with having colleagues with different with kiddos in different districts, it was kind of funny. Somebody would say, "Oh, so and so beat you," to the message, or so and so's came an hour or two after yours. We actually talked about it in terms of case, how easy it was to utilize whatever platform we are on for us, Parent Square, versus whatever platform they're using to get that message out quickly and efficiently. I know on our side, I shared, I love the Parent Square, right? It's really easy, it's really quick. It's easy to hit everybody in multiple means, text, email, voice if I wanted it, where it wasn't as easy or accessible. They felt in Sequoia. So it was partially a conversation about our thoughts because they're looking at what systems they use and potentially adopting something district wide. The other thing that I'd say we recognized was that because our PTAs access Parent Square as well, it's really helped centralize communication. So people go to one place for it, which is again, not the case in all districts. So I think we kind of came to that realization.
Thank you. Oh.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, Trustee Limbach.
So in past years, we've talked about articulation. Our 8th grade students, once they get done here, we want to make sure they're ready for the rest of their life and being productive citizens. And was there any discussion about that? If there was, I'm wondering, over the past few years, have there been improvements or anything or any areas of improvement that they may have discussed? Just wondering.
We did not discuss that at this meeting. I think anecdotally, there's been some conversation with our middle school folks, directly with Carlmont folks. I'm trying to think. We actually, some of our indirectly related, but some of our actually elementary folks were coming up to our middle schools to see what was happening there. So we had that piece. We haven't quite bridged the middle school to Carlmont systematically, I'll say. I think it happens once in a while. I think occasionally we'll send a teacher or a small group over there, but not systematically at this point.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, moving on to item number 16. Yes, and CSBA Special Board Policy Update. We'll hear from Superintendent DeGuara.
We have had a lot of board policy updates for the last 4 months or so, 6 months. This last round, there was quite a bit of transition and changes within Title IX. Title IX is woven through many different policies. This update was primarily to address those changes. So tonight before you for first read is a number of policies related to Title IX, non-discrimination harassment, Title IX, whatnot, that are all recommended for adoption. Again, first read, we'll take any comments or feedback between now and next meeting, make any changes if needed. But they'll be for adoption next meeting. These are all based on CSBA recommendations and samples.
Thank you, Superintendent DeGuara. Any questions or comments?
Just a brief comment. Yeah, I think all these policies are very important. Everyone should feel, whether a student or staff or family on campus, that they're in a safe environment and they feel comfortable there. So I think all these are important, and I'm glad to see them go through.
Absolutely. Just most of a good portion of the policy updates land and Director Eastburns, who's not here today, but I do want to just acknowledge they land in her plate, and she's been really diligent about completing the update. So
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, item number 17, future board meeting agenda items. And so we can see what we have there, and again, and I'll turn it over to Superintendent DeGuara.
yes, I'm looking over to Ms. Ellinger. Our school updates, we have one for October, November.
We do not have one for December.
December. Who's in October and who's in November? Do you recall?
October is Sandpiper, November is Fox.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I did not scroll over. I was like, where did our school updates go? Sandpiper and Fox. Those are always the most important ones as our school highlights. Thank you. Sandpiper will be in October. Ed Services will talk about fall assessments and intervention. Both of those will be meaty conversation and discussion. In November, on the agenda, we have Fox as the spotlight. We'll be providing a child nutrition update, a quick kind of facts and figures and overview. And then hopefully we'll have our 2x2x2, which is BRSSD, Redwood City, and Belmont debrief.
Thank you, Superintendent DeGuara. Any other items to consider as future board meeting agenda items? Trustee Limbach?
Yes, believe we talked about last month too, about artificial intelligence in education. Bring that up as a discussion topic and having the board decide on if any policy or any thoughts should be put into that. As I mentioned earlier, SMCSBA is having their meeting on November 18th to have some panelists speak about that. So maybe the November meeting on the 20th would be, or 21st would be good timing for that.
Thank you. Any thoughts on that as an agenda item?
So Sam, how do you envision that? Kind of what to be structured in terms of like just a presentation of the landscape of AI in education? Because you said maybe there might be some policy consideration. So what were your thoughts? Did you have any at this point in time?
Well, it's just a discussion. It's like,
Yeah.
do we want to, as a governing body, do we
Yeah.
want to have any direction for the district on how to move for that? It's just moving very quickly. And of course, I don't want to go into detail here, but I feel maybe we should have a discussion saying, what does the district want to do with AI? How do we want it to affect our students and our teachers and we're going to be living with this.
No,
Yeah.
Didn't know how it was gonna be presented as information, kind of like a presentation or more of a discussion like that.
Yeah, I think as a discussion item of just getting the lay of the land and as initial foray into it, that sounds
Okay.
like a good thing.
Sure. I will work through that and see. I probably will not have staff give that. We'll probably look for somebody that has a little bit larger of a lens to do that. I actually have already reached out to a couple folks thinking about it. So I will work on that and give the board updates as we go along.
Thank you. Any other future board meeting agenda items? All right. We are not going to reconvene to close session. Can I get a motion to adjourn at 7:02 PM?
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, thank you, trustee Howard. Can I get a second? Seconded trustee Lineback. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously.
And by 1 hour.
This meeting is adjourned at 7:03 PM.